Artifacts in July is filled with fun and firsts. Yes, indeed, you'll be the first to see Tutu Superina, the ballerina who saves the world. Plus, we'll bring you a sneak peek at some winning spots from the art and technique of the American television commercial exhibits. Plus, a rousing musical number from the Brave New Workshop's latest show, and a host of great guests on Artifacts next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artifacts. I'm Janet Zahn with the Office of Film, Video, and Recording.
And I'm Phill, Lindsay with the Minneapolis Community Development Agency, and we're going to look at some news right now from the world of the arts. Are you familiar with poetry slams? Well, what they are competitive events where audiences judge public readings by poets, and Minnesota will be sending a poetry slam team to the National Poetry Slam. That's going to be held from August 19th through the 22nd in Austin, Texas. And the home team includes Diego Vasquez, Tianbao Takfi, Lauren Nemi, Patrick McKinnon, and Kate Peterson, who will be serving as an alternate. And looking at that lineup, it looks like it'll be mostly masculine endings to the poems.
True. Is that a good thing?
Well, I don't know. I like to mix and match a little bit myself.
True. In Movietown news, 2 more feature films are booked to shoot in Minnesota this summer. From New Line Cinema, Dairy Queens, a movie about a small town's obsession with its teen beauty contest. It's directed by Michael Patrick Jan and stars Kirstie Alley, Kirsten Dunst, Denise Richards, and Ellen Barkin. Dairy Queens is scheduled to begin shooting on August 3rd. The locally produced and financed movie Herman, Minnesota also has an August 3rd start date. Pat Wells is producer. Bill Siemens is the writer-director.
Always nice to have movies in town.
Indeed.
That's pretty cool. Now, here are some big numbers from the world of theater. According to the Wall Street Journal, regional community theaters last year had ticket sales of more than $750 million. Now that compares to a concentrated $1.28 billion business by Broadway shows, including their tours. Now in terms of audience numbers, however, community theater comes out way ahead. They drew some 83 million people compared to Broadway's draw of 28.2 million attendees. Gee, maybe the twins could book in Ragtime or something.
Indeed. Well, how about let's tell them who's going to be on the show.
Great lineup, folks. Our first guest is actor Laura Esping.
Followed by Janet Lenius with a quick look at the Northeast InfoLine.
Then Kirk Hokanson, who is the president of the Minnesota Association of Independent Commercial Producers, joins Janet to talk about the AICP show. That's the art and technique of the American television commercial. Minneapolis is the first stop on the show's worldwide tour after its June premiere at the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Then Sally Rousse of the James Sewell Ballet brings news from her company, and she'll tell us about how the cartoon Tutu Superina became an official Nicktoon with a premiere on the Nickelodeon network this summer.
That's a cool thing. And finally, the Brave New Workshop presents a timely excerpt from Viagra, The Second Coming.
All this, plus a short film by Marty Lufkin, some beautiful Minneapolis gardens, and more coming right up after this.
Hey, 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 this is your chance to own, free of charge, this nifty, nicely designed fold-out map of downtown Minneapolis architecture and public art. It's packed solid with interesting and intriguing architectural information. To win this month's Artifacts giveaway, all you have to do is call 673-2234. Leave your name, address, and phone number on the answer machine. Tell us you're watching Artifacts, and if you're the 5th caller to leave a message, it's yours.
Well, our giveaways are usually the hit of the show, so if you want a copy of that, please call in the City Cable 34 hotline, 673-2234. Those were hand-colored by monomaniacal monks up on the top floor of the City Center building in downtown Minneapolis, just for you. My next guest is a lively actor, a woman that I've actually seen in a show recently, a couple shows, and I'm happy to have her here. I want to welcome her right now, Laura Esping.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being
Phil.
here. This is great.
My pleasure.
We had the pleasure of working a couple months back on a neat show, a one-time thing over at the Fitzgerald Theater, Spring Ahead. And it just so happened that 2 days later, my co-host, Janet Zahn, calls me and says, hey, do you want to go see Much Ado About Nothing? I said, well, yeah, that's over at the Guthrie. I'll go see it. And goes, who's there? You're there.
Yes.
You just had a run.
Somewhat, a little bit.
You were there. I saw you. And you just spent, what, a year at the Guthrie?
Yeah, as an intern.
How was that?
There. It was fantastic. I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
I was able to do that.
What were all the shows you were in? Obviously, Much Ado.
Well, the first show I understudied was You Can't Take It With You. It was great fun. Understudying is a big part of what we do, so I got a lot of experience doing that. It never went on, but I had 3 roles that I could work on.
So it's an appropriate show. You can't take it with you. You just understudied it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And the next show was Christmas Carol that I was in. I had 2 months off, and then Christmas Carol, and that was great fun. And then Playboy of the Western World, and then Much Ado.
Wow. You had fun.
Oh, yes.
Learned a lot.
Yes.
And those guys have a budget.
They do have somewhat of a budget.
They got some money to spend there. But you have a variety of experiences in theater. Now, you recently graduated from the university.
In July.
In July. Okay. Just this year?
No, last
year
year
ago.
in July.
Okay, so you got a year under your belt there.
Yes.
But in talking with you, you have done everything from the Minnesota Showboat, Junloon, the Jungle Theater, and to my happy surprise, you've even done Renaissance festivals.
Yes, that's how I came to town and started out. With a small
Truly?
commedia troupe, indeed.
Oh.
Yeah. Performing in parks to sometimes 5 people, sometimes 50.
Yeah.
And doing the Renaissance Festival.
And you're originally from?
Iowa.
Well, that counts. That's, okay. Now, did you get into theater in Iowa?
I did, but I didn't start out doing theater. Well, I was thinking about this actually earlier when you asked me to do this. And I think I've always been, well, when I was a kid, I spent a great deal of time playing, you know, in imaginary worlds and playing with my dolls and stuffed animals, as well as playing kickball with the guys in the neighborhood. So it was sort of a good mixture of being very physical and having really vivid imagination, which I rediscovered my senior year in high school in a play.
In your first play. What was your first play?
Anti-Mame.
All right. But then you went on from there to where?
The University of Iowa for
Okay.
4 years, and got a real broad-based liberal arts degree.
Okay. Not theater per se. That wasn't your
Well, it was
main.
a speech and dramatic art degree.
yeah.
So I did some theater, but it wasn't until my senior year there that I got involved with doing the prison theater that I did for 4 years, which is
This
what I
is
really cut
interesting.
my eye to. Yeah.
Now, what was that all about?
Well-
Prison theater.
Right. My last year there was this crazy, colorful man from London that was getting his master's there, and his idea was to take a group of cherub-faced theater students from the University of Iowa and do an original piece about American history in a prison. That was Stateville in Joliet, Illinois. And I was one of the people
You
that
did
did that.
Joliet?
Yeah. that
That's
was the
like
first
hard
prison.
time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a city into itself,
Yeah.
that prison. And our response was so tremendous that we just continued. And for the next 4 years, I traveled around the country living in a broken down school bus. Not always broken down, but many times. And performed in penitentiaries and
How
did
big a
workshops.
troupe? How many of you were going?
Well, it shrunk and grew through the years, but I stuck with it. I mean, at one time there was 14 people, and at one time it was me and 2 other guys.
Yipes.
Yeah.
Wow. And mostly in the state of Illinois?
No, we did the Midwest, an East Coast tour, and the South.
Oh, all right. Did you get up here like Stillwater or Shakopee or anything?
No, although I have been in Shakopee with some women. God, when was that? A number of years ago, there was a workshop that I was involved in, but we didn't perform in Minnesota. They were kind of
okay.
already had their own thing going
I went
on.
in and did a couple of variety shows here locally, and I must say, very receptive audiences. I mean, they love it.
Yeah.
But it must have been kind of emotionally hard in a way, too.
That's a good question. I mean, it was in that you had to be a very, well, I'll just say it, an asexual being, you know, because that couldn't come into, you're just a person.
No connection there with the front row, as it were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We took belly dancers into Stillwater. Kind of a mistake.
You really did that?
We did, yeah.
Well-
Well, it was who we worked with at the time. And,
Well, and why not?
yeah.
But I guess, yeah, it was, because it, well, part of what I liked about it was it took everything that I had. I mean, we got $20 a month, but all the food that we needed, and at that time, cigarettes and coffee.
I think the inmates were earning more than you were
I
for
think they were.
stamping out plates or
Yeah,
something.
and camped wherever we were. So
Yeah.
it was a very frugal lifestyle, but it changed my life.
Yeah, and you're learning right there on the edge, I would think. That's craft.
Completely on the edge. I mean,
Yeah.
there were many times that someone would stand up and say, you know, who do you think you are? You don't know what you're talking about.
In the middle of the show.
Always.
They just nail you.
You never knew. Yeah.
Wow.
And the guy that ran the troupe, John Bergman, was the guy who started it, was really adept at, we used half mask, at pulling off his mask and really talking to the guys, or the women that were standing up and saying, so what do you think we should do? And they would tell us, and we had to be right there to be able to just change what we were doing or utilize comments from the audience. So it's completely improvisational. So for at least a solid hour, you were just like, what's going to happen next? And you never
That's
knew.
a tough gig.
It was, but it was very live.
I can see in your eyes. That was good. So you get out of prison and you come to Minnesota.
Well, it wasn't exactly like that. I came off the road after 4 years. I mean, it was a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Backpacked around Europe for a while. I was going to move, but couldn't make the decision to leave the country yet. And was living in Chicago at the time, actually, with the troupe, and dogs and cats and ferrets.
Ferrets?
Ferrets, yeah.
That's a major population in Chicago, I
Right,
understand.
in a brownstone. And at that time was by myself, and Chicago seemed a little big at the time. And I packed my car up and drove north, smack dab into Lake Calhoun.
My word.
Yeah, 35. Somehow I got off the right road and drove right in there, and there are people, you know, rollerblading and windsurfing and crystal blue sky and emerald green trees, and I thought...
So you came on the warm day.
I did. It was
good.
October, as I recall. I mean, it was just gorgeous.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I could stay here for a little
And
bit.
early work with At the Foot of the Mountain.
Actually, yeah, I had heard about Foot of the Mountain. I got a book called We Are Strong. And I don't know if you were familiar with that book. It was a guide to the popular theaters in America, the people's theaters. And there were, outside of California and New York, Minnesota had the most popular theaters listed. I mean, there was Illusion, there was Foot of the Mountain, At the Heart of the Beast, Puppet and Mask, Up and Over Women's Theater at that
Women's
time.
Theater Project, probably?
Yeah,
in those years?
some other ones that I'm not remembering right now. But
Yeah.
I thought, a lot's going on here. And I came because I wanted to work at Foot.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. When I get a working actor on, I like to throw a question like this at you. What's the hardest thing about acting? What is it that when you have a doubt and you're not sure that you want to do this anymore, it's because of...
I can only answer for me because everyone's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that I'm the kind of person that needs to channel my energy, and that does it for me. And those few times where you're on stage and you're really giving and taking with your partner, and the audience is giving and taking with you, again, those moments are so alive and almost, I mean, in the best case scenarios, transcendent. And those times, I guess, make up for the times that you're unemployed and, you know, you're talking to a friend who's got a lot of money and going to Rome, you know, for the
And there you
summer.
are, yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, I hope I can make rent this month. I mean, it's those moments that are just so extraordinary. And as you get older, you realize life is so short that those moments are worth it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Laura, we're just out of time. Real quickly,
Oh, well.
New projects coming up?
Earthly Delights at the Illusion Fresh Ink series, written by Patty Lynch, directed by Kent Stevens. Hildegard von Bingen's story, but the radical adaptation of her play, Ordo Virtutum.
Glad I asked.
Yes.
Laura, nice to have you on the show.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Phil.
That's great. Now, next up, Janet Lenius will bring us the latest on the Northeast InfoLine. But first, we'll pause for a short film by Marty Lufkin. Marty's a Minneapolis filmmaker who was just awarded a Jerome Foundation grant to produce her next film, An Asian Dance in Minnesota.
Where'd you get that dress? Where'd you learn to walk like that?
Well, we just looked at that in the studio before we ran it, and we all thought that was some very nice work, so congratulations to Marty. Well, my next guest is an entrepreneur, Janet Lenius. We want to welcome you to the studio here.
Thank you, Phil.
Glad you're here. And what Janet has is something that I find fascinating and I think brilliant, which is the Northeast InfoLine. In 25 words or less, can you tell us what the Northeast InfoLine is?
Well, it's a free community hotline set up for residents of Northeast Minneapolis that gives community event information as well as general interest information like the daily time, weather, horoscopes, lottery numbers.
Wow.
And there's also, I have several advertisers who have their own categories, and they do things like a chiropractic tip.
Oh, okay, so people call in and then you give them a menu of categories to punch
Right.
in, and then
They
they
hear
get...
a menu.
Yeah, I know. From the point of view of this show, which is all about the arts, there's no specific arts category.
Right.
But they can find out about some arts things in a couple of your categories, is that right?
Right, under the community events, I have a lot of art-related events listed.
Sure. And then kids things too, I think. You have a children's or a family.
There's families, there's a category for family events, kids' activities,
Yeah.
and even senior citizen.
As a separate category. Oh, that's great. Well, before we go any further, Janet, why don't you just rattle off that number? If people want to call the Northeast Info Line, they should call
It's 379-CALL.
CALL.
Right.
379-CALL. I think we'll get those numbers up on the screen here so people know.
Okay.
Well, one of the things we wanted to try and do, you and I here, was to see if there might be interest out there in the world to see, and you'd have to know this, whether or not there's interest in creating a special arts category. So what we were going to suggest is that people can certainly call the Northeast Info Line. Is there a special category they should...
Yes, they should punch category 15 for the suggestion box.
Oh, so you have a suggestion category. Okay. So Artifacts viewers, if you would particularly like to get arts information in a separate category up in the Northeast Info Line, call Janet at 379-CALL and then punch 15. That doesn't work on a rotary dial. And then tell her, yes, we'd like to see these kinds of things. They should give you some information about what they'd want to find out more about.
Right.
That's great.
And if anybody would like to sponsor such a category, that would be great.
Well, now,
too.
is this complicated? Because you talk about, I mean, sponsorship has to, I mean, this costs money. Is it difficult to do this?
Well, it's actually inexpensive compared to other forms of media.
Okay.
So it would be a way to represent a community-oriented information source and increase your stature with the community.
Well, I would think so, sure. And it's a dedicated group of audiences, too, because everybody calling is interested in what's going on in Northeast. And you just celebrated a year anniversary with this.
Right.
That's pretty good. What gave you the idea?
Well, I wanted to have something that I could do at home and something that used my journalism background, because I have a journalism degree from the University of Minnesota.
So there's a lot of research involved here.
Right.
Yeah.
It took me about a month or so, at least, to learn how to use the equipment and create the various categories. And
A month? I'm sitting here thinking it'd probably take me 5 years. I'm actually kind of impressed, Janet. That's pretty good.
thanks.
Put your nose in a manual and just did it, huh? That's pretty good. You getting a lot of calls?
Yes, I am, especially since I've added my new parade category.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, I have, just this month, I have a special category that gives information about the East Side Parade. And it'll be regularly updated as things change. And there's also a separate category or a separate button you can press if you'd like to be transferred to the parade organizers to get an application.
So it's sort of like a hyperlink, as it were. You can go right over to the organizers. Well, Janet, very impressed with your operation. Continued good luck on it. And I hope people do call you and let you know one way or another if they'd like an arts category, because I know there's a lot of arts going on up in Northeast. So that's great. And as far as that goes, if you want to call the City Cable 34 hotline, that's 673-2234, and tell us in a few words, yeah, that sounds good, we'll relay the message over to you.
Okay, well,
Sounds
thanks.
good. Thanks for being on the show. Nice to have you here.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, next, Kirk Hokanson of Voodoo Films talks with Janet, that's Janet Zahn, about the art and technique of the American television commercial. It's a juried exhibition of the commercial as an art form coming to Minneapolis in July. Now, to pique your interest, here's one of the winning spots from the AICP show that we're proud to say was produced right here in Minneapolis by Young & Company. The director is Jim Lauder.
Oh no, I think we're lost. whatever shall we do? Oh, look! It's the Good Fairy. She'll know what to do.
Not to fear, little children. I will help.
Should have used Stren. Stren, the most dependable fishing line in the world.
Again, that was a spot produced in Minneapolis. That is one of the winning spots in the AICP show, which is very exciting. We're really proud to have a spot from Minneapolis in this show. And here is my guest, Kirk Hokanson, to tell us why we're proud to have a Minneapolis spot in this show.
Well, you know, it's interesting because this show is basically the art and technique of the American commercial.
Television commercial.
Television commercial. I knew there was something I was missing.
Yeah.
And so it's different than other shows because it really has the technique as the center point of it. And so that other shows which focus on the creativity, their advertising, this is about the technique. And so we're very proud of that particular spot.
And Kirk, you are the executive producer at Voodoo Films.
That is correct.
Tell us a little bit about Voodoo Films.
We're a commercial production company here in Minneapolis. We've been around for 3 years, and prior to that, it was C&H Productions with a former partner. And we produce the best spots in the entire world.
But of course.
But of course.
And also, you are the president of the Minnesota Association of Independent Commercial Producers this year. You're doing a fabulous job.
And it's been really a hoot.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to put the show on at the Walker. And it is going to be new and improved and better this year. We're really actually doing some very fun things.
Well, tell us about it.
First of all, we're working very closely with the Walker, and they're kind of opening the doors for kind of a connection for us for next year. And what we're going to do is have a very nice cocktail party and hors d'oeuvres up on the Gallery 8, up on the terraces, overlooking the beautiful city of Minneapolis.
That'll be fabulous.
A band will be there, and of course, I don't remember the name of the band.
Cafe Accordion Orchestra.
That's right.
I do my research.
I knew that.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a wonderful affair, and then the screening will be down in the Walker screening room, which has fabulous sound and projection facilities. And I was in New York and I saw the show, and it is fabulous. The work represented in the show is truly the best in the nation from a technical standpoint, and also advertising, because so often great technology and good advertising are bound.
I think that's a good point for us to go and take a look at a couple of the spots that will be in the show. We've got a spot on Volkswagen.
One of my favorites.
Yes, and another one for Visa, and I think we should just roll them clips right now.
Da, da, da. Da, da, da.
Ich lieb mich nicht, du liebst mich nicht. Aha. Ich lieb dich nicht, du liebst dich nicht.
Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Da, da, da.
The German-engineered Volkswagen Golf. It fits your life, or your complete lack thereof. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
I wish I had an elephant who'd always play with me, who'd always be my friend, who'd sit. How are you today, Mrs. Malloy? And share some tea. An elephant.
The African elephant migrates to us.
An elephant and me. But wishes are like elephants. They're bigger than can be.
Okay, maybe you can't give her everything her heart desires. But with the humongous purchase power of the new Visa Platinum card, maybe you can. And besides, you never know what she'll want next. Visa Platinum, it's everywhere you want to be.
God, those are great spots.
You know,
Man.
when you see the whole group of it, the whole show is about an hour, and it is amazing to see that many spots in a row that are fabulous.
Doesn't it reinvigorate your love for the business when you see stuff like that, or doesn't it?
I have an undying love for this business. But it is truly inspiring to see the level of work, and God, it's just very great work.
Were there some other spots? We didn't get to see all of them today. Can you describe maybe one other spot that you really liked on the reel?
Well, actually, one I was talking to you about earlier, it's for Apple computers, and it's actually a spot made of stock footage of Einstein, Amelia Earhart, and all these really great people who dared to try to change the way the world is. And it kind of goes with their theme of
Think
differently. Yeah. And it actually moved me every time. I was kind of weepy.
Oh, I've been to this show many times too, and there's always at least one, and I'm so embarrassed, but I am a weeper. So now I'll be prepared for that one.
Oh, it's terrific, and it won a couple of different awards, so that it gets screened twice.
And you mentioned a little bit about this before too, and I think people, they're kind of familiar with the Clio Awards, and maybe they go to the British Advertising Awards at the Walker every December or whatever. But if you can maybe differentiate this show from those, how would you do that?
Well, the judges really try to divorce themselves from the advertising, from the creative concept. So that they can really look at the technique and the art of it as a separate element. And so, as I said before, though, that they often, really great advertising, they do blend together, and it sometimes is difficult to separate. But clearly, like sometimes when you go to the Clios or Cannes or something like that, you'll see a brilliant idea that wins the Gold Lion or whatever it is, because it was the idea that was it, not necessarily the technique. And so we needed an award, the Association of Independent Commercial Producers needed an award that would recognize the, for instance, one of the awards is for best production. And you might go, well, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
But it's one in which you showed earlier, which is the spot with the elephant one for best production, because it's kind of difficult to get the elephant to stand on its head and to dance and to chase the school bus.
And it's totally believable. It looks effortless. And it's just like natural that she's walking down the street.
It took them a couple hours to shoot that spot.
Yeah, just a few. Just a few. I want to make sure we get all the details for this show so people know what they are. It is Monday, July 20th.
At the Walker.
At the Walker, beautiful Walker.
Don't be late, 6 o'clock for the hors d'oeuvres and fun. 8 o'clock for the show.
Right. Tickets are $20 for members.
Members of the AICP.
Right.
And $30 for non-members.
And that's in advance.
In advance. And if you show up at the door, it's $35.
Right.
So call that number, 617-0000, and get those advance tickets.
And that number again?
617-0000.
Really easy to remember. It's a good number. It's a good number. And again, tickets $20 for AICP members, $30 for non-members, $35 at the door. Well worth it.
Oh, it's a night of inspiration.
And I appreciate you coming and talking with us about it. And again, congratulations on being the Prez this year, doing a great job.
It's a great honor.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Kirk.
Thank you, Janet.
Glad you could come. Phill will be back with Sally Rousse, Tutu Superina, and Billy's Bed, a Terpsitoon, as Artifacts continues here on City Cable 34.
Well, there's always so much going on here in the Twin Cities, and my next guest is going to tell us about yet another platform of talent that's going on here in the Twin Cities. Sally Rousse, thanks for being back on the show.
Thank you.
Sally and her husband were here about a year and a half ago, James Sewell, talking about some shows they were doing. I think it was Amal you were doing and continue to do. But Sally's been involved with a very exciting project. I mean, this has been making news certainly locally and soon to hit your television, cable watchers, on a national platform. You've been involved with a project called Tutu, Superina.
That's right.
Now, for those, and nobody could know about this, tell us what Tutu's all about.
This is an animated cartoon with it's being produced by Nickelodeon, which has a company now called Nicktoons. And they have a division in Hollywood, and we have a good friend who lives in Hollywood who asked me to work on this cartoon. They needed a cartoon that featured women, and they have hardly any that feature ballerinas.
I can't think of any.
I can't think of
Olive
any.
Oil once in a while did a turn.
And she does sort of look like Olive Oil, the character.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but I thought this was Olive Oil for the 90s.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so there was a call for new cartoons, and they're always churning them out. And this is just one. There may be more, but there's only one at this point.
Okay, so this is like the first one, and it's going to premiere in August.
It premieres August 16th on Nickelodeon, the channel.
Sure, but we're getting a sneak preview thanks to Sally Rousse. Why don't we take a look at that right now?
Okay.
It's 5-6 minutes long, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit more. So here's Tutu, Superina. Sally Rousse worked on this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh!
Tutu, tutu, time to get up, time to get up, time to get up. Tutu, 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 tutu. Tutu, tutu, time to get up, time to get up, time to get up. Tutu, tutu, something to do.
Listen up, pet shop owner. You fill this sack with animals pronto, or I'll give you the beating of your life. Understand?
Oh, my goodness, yes, I understand.
Something for Tutu to do!
Look, it's Tutu, the Superina.
Woohoo!
Tutu's got powers and abilities far beyond those of ordinary ballerinas.
Tutu can do really cool, hard stuff that other ballerinas would be crazy to even try.
Okay, so sometimes Tutu makes a mistake.
I know what Tutu must do!
A ballerina?
That's Superina to you, scamp!
Oh, thank you, Tutu, thank you. Careful.
Animal Irritation League. Have you pestered your pet today?
No, but I got that sack of critters you ordered.
Excellent. Come in.
$400 for the sack.
I won't take a penny over $4.50.
Nonsense. It's worth far more than that. $4.75.
$4.30.
Okay, $4.60.
$4.20.
Oh, that's ridiculous. $4.27.
Here, boy. Here, boy. Fetch. Here, boy. Here, boy. Fetch. Here, boy. Here, boy.
How do you women walk in these things? $3.75, and that's my final offer. Huh? A Superina!
Well, that's just a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and we were talking while we were watching that the color and the animation, I think, is kind of a cut above some of the stuff that I've seen recently. So
Really?
It's really nice, yeah.
Well, it's all done overseas, and Monty Young is the art director in Hollywood who dictates all the colors and how she looks, and we went through about 50 drawings about how Tutu, the character, would look. And I had bought this doll in Nebraska who, she just, to me, was total inspiration. And I sent it to the office in Hollywood and said, this is, to me, what Tutu looks like. They did all these drawings and it ended up looking pretty much like the doll.
But now, Sally, as a trained and experienced ballet dancer yourself, what was it of yours that they needed and wanted? What did they pull out of your brain?
Well, a lot of the movement, I actually had to do a videotape of the fight scenes.
Interesting.
And so I was having to choreograph or improvise lethal movements with somebody else because they just couldn't picture, well, what kind of movements would actually hurt another person? And I had to say, oh, there's a million. I mean, I could just do a kind of port-de-bras that would really hurt you if I wanted it to, or something.
Yeah.
And of course, in cartoon land, anything can, you know, I could just go like this, and that would just send you through a wall, just the wind of my arms or something like that. So,
yes.
But once I started them thinking about, oh, I see, she could just, you know, I sort of freed them up so that they could do whatever they wanted. They did a lot of the,
yes,
you know, beating somebody up, pummeling with her pointy shoes.
And did I catch some snippets from classic ballet music?
Yes,
was
all
that
of
you
it.
too? Was that you suggesting?
Yeah, it was Swan Lake. And,
yeah, I got the swans, and then up would come there.
And there's also a lot of excerpts from Swan Lake in there. And then I think all of the music from this one is Swan Lake. Maybe if we do future ones, we'll go to a
Right.
different ballet. So, but it's updated. I mean, Bill is a musical wizard, and he put in all of his beats and
Right.
syncopations and stuff.
Well, and the pacing, obviously, for today's young person, I mean, you're going to stay
Yeah.
right with that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, now, because you folks are obviously involved with James Sewell Ballet with live performances, I don't want to miss an opportunity to talk with you about some of the live work that you've been doing as well. Now, this was a special project that you completed, the Tutu with Nickelodeon. Project, essentially for now, done, completed, maybe more in the works.
Right.
But you were also nice enough to bring us a clip from a show that you did recently on stage, live, but there was a little crossover in the talent. You were involved with this and someone who worked on Tutu.
Right, Bill, again, the music man,
Right?
who also did the story. Bill and I wrote the story for Tutu, and we don't do any of the drawing.
Right, keep your hands off of that.
We don't do that. But Bill we knew from New York, because our company was formed in New York, and Bill lived a couple blocks, and he did music with us there. And James loves cartoons, and he wanted to do a live ballet on the stage that would use the ridiculous, exaggerated movements that you find in cartoons, where you'd have to suspend belief. I mean, if we could, we would have the neck snap
Yes.
together, but we physically can't do that now at this point. So we got together, and so Bill, James, and I got together and wrote this story, an original cartoon story, which in ballet terms would be a libretto or an opera. And then Bill wrote the music, and James and I added sound effects, cartoon sound effects.
They're
We got to go
wonderful.
through a great catalog of Hanna-Barbera sound effects. And then James choreographed the thing, and we had local talent doing the costuming and the art design, the backdrop. It was the first ballet that has more than tights and lights for us. We're a very small ballet company, as you know, and
Well,
so
it's a lovely piece.
it was a big
You
deal.
let me watch the thing. I watched it from beginning to end, and it was really funny.
Right.
The name of this piece is?
Billy's Bed, a terpsitune, and we're doing it in the fall again.
Oh, it's coming up? Oh, I'm so pleased, because I want to come and see it live. I
In
missed it last
October.
spring, I think you had it.
We did it in April. We premiered it. We'll probably have to tweak it a little. It's very hard technical feat for us to do.
Yeah.
And then it comes again the last 2 weekends of October.
Great. That's just great. And as we go out now, we're going to take a look at a minute or so of that.
Great.
So thanks to you. Sally,
Thank
Rousse,
you.
always nice to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So we will be back with an invigorating performance by some talented folks from the Brave New Workshop. But first, let's take a look at an excerpt, just a clip from Billy's Bed, a terpsitune by the James Sewell Ballet. Stay tuned.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom. Don't worry, call the car X-Man.
You guys are good. Keep it up.
Quarter. I want no
baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back.
Chili's baby back ribs.
I want my baby back.
Chili's baby back ribs.
Barbecue sauce.
Hey, boys, that's pretty wonderful there. I love that. You don't know any other songs? Yes, no?
I am stuck on Band-Aid, 'cause Band-Aid stuck on me. I am stuck on Band-Aid, 'cause Band-Aid stuck on me.
Toast
'Cause
time.
they hold on tight in the bathtub and they cling in soapy suds.
Right.
I am stuck on Band-Aid, 'cause Band-Aid stuck on me.
That is beautiful. Hi, my name is Merle. I'm the talent coordinator down at the Almost Heaven Senior Center. We're always looking for some young acts, you know, anything under 50. So, you boys have a name? The Uz?
No, the bus stops.
Well, Mr. Bus Stops, I got $36 for the three of you in our budget. Next Tuesday, Wednesday, make it Tuesday, 3 o'clock, the Limbo Room. What do you say?
You got the right one, baby. Uh-huh.
Here's the dough again.
Yes. Doodly, doodly, doodly.
Thank you and welcome to the Limbo Room happy half hour here. Turn up the oxygen, put on the brakes, because here they are, the bus stops.
Nitol will help you get your seat.
No, they don't need sleep aids. They're catatonic here.
Meow, 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 meow.
Look at this, it's a miracle. She's not moved in 3 years.
Juicy fruit is gonna move ya. It chews so soft, it gets right through ya. Juicy fruit, the taste is gonna move ya.
Got something with a kick here. Coffee.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated.
It's a miracle.
Well, I've got with me right now, I've got the fellow who directed what you just saw, Jim Detmer. What the heck was that we were watching?
Well, that was from a sketch called The Bus Stops, part of our show, Viagra, The Second Coming, about three guys who just by chance meet at a bus stop and go on to bring people out of catatonic stupors across the country with their jingles.
Well, it's a lot of fun and very appropriate. And now this is a show running at?
The Brave New Workshop down at 2605 Hennepin Avenue. Runs Thursday through Sunday evenings, 2 shows Friday and Saturday. 2605, it's right across from the Embers at the corner of 26 and Hennepin.
Right, and this show's running all summer.
All through the summer.
So people can come down and catch the show.
Yeah, the crowds we're packing them in, so you want to get there early or make your calls and get your reservations early.
We've got just a moment left. Can you rattle off the names of these fine performers back here,
Absolutely.
including this guy?
Yeah, all right, starting on this end, we have Cedric Yarborough, Jim Lickscheitel, Eric Nelson, Eugene Huddleston, and my little Margie Simmons right back here.
Well, Jim, nice going on the show.
Thank you.
Continued success over there at the Brave New Workshop.
Thanks.
Get over there and see it, folks.
Take it away, guys.
By Menon.
And you just saw some sumptuous Minneapolis gardens.
That's right, and we want to thank Mary Lou Maxwell, Master Gardener, for providing those slides. Those are all from Minneapolis. Just some July shots from the last couple of years.
Yeah, just to give us a little transition from the
The
Brave New Workshop.
zany Brave New Workshop, folks. That was fun.
Back to the serious Phill and Janet show.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I like those commercials, by the way.
Oh,
that
thank
Kirk
you.
and you were showing. That was good.
Oh, that's a good show.
At this point in the show, we usually do a little chit-chat, and I am told that the No Neck Blues Band is going to be booked up at the ASO Cooperative. That's in Northeast Minneapolis. That's going to happen July 17th at 759 Pierce. ASO, by the way, it's just an acronym which means, I think, art is not something odd. I don't know for sure.
But art is something odd, on occasion.
It should be.
Yes, absolutely. And the Minnesota Fringe Festival, the annual event showcases usually pretty edgy stuff.
Very edgy.
theater from around the world and right here in the Minneapolis area. This year it's happening in the Loring Park area again, July 30th through August 9th. Venues include the Red Eye, Loring Playhouse, Guthrie, Women's Club, Minneapolis Community Technical, and the Minneapolis Community Technical College. If you want more information on the Minnesota Fringe Festival, call 823-6005.
And that's nothing if it's not eclectic.
Absolutely.
And also, in the middle of July, July 19th, that's a Sunday as it happens at Lake Harriet, the Minneapolis Pops Orchestra. I think this is going to be their final concert of the year. The theme for that show is The Sun Never Sets. We were just talking about that, how summer, you know, we start thinking ahead there. So that's kind of a neat thing. Did you know that they did the first Lake Harriet Bandstand show in 1886?
Why, yes, Phil, I did know
you
that.
did know that. Well, she would. She's a consummate perfectionist here, knows all that stuff. That's pretty good. Did you really know that?
No.
She wears lederhosen, too. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed this month's show. By the way, next month in August, we've got lined up as our in-studio musical guest, Diane Wegner. She's going to be singing a tune, and that's going to be fun.
Should be great. And don't forget to call in for that Artifacts giveaway. And call us, too, if you have any ideas for the show. We'd love to hear from you. Call the City Cable 34 hotline.
673-2234. By the way, if you want arts to get a special category on the Northeast InfoLine, call us. We'll run your ideas by that Janet Lenius.
And coming up next, we have the events calendar, so get out your pens and pencils.
We've enjoyed being here.
And
Stay
paper.
tuned. And paper, your pens, paper, and pencils.
Yes.
I'm Phill Lindsay. We'll see you next time.
And I'm Janet Zahn. Thanks for watching.